welcome back, everybody. The winter hiatus is over, and Lessons Unplanned, the realities of teaching, is back. I'm here with Tressa and Jake, my co-hosts, and today we're going to talk about what college didn't teach us about teaching in 2026. When we were in college, we were prepared to become teachers. We were learned about pedagogy, how to write a lesson, how to handle some things, how to dig into the curriculum, how to prepare and plan for obstacles, and how to be a professional. But I don't think that always we learned everything about how to manage a classroom, especially now our attention spans are like gnats, let's be honest. And to be honest with you, we've talked about this in our other episodes. We're not prepared for the emotional weight that kids are carrying around, the baggage that they carry around with their thoughts and feelings and some of the trauma that they're living in. So today, let's jump into what prep programs are all about. And first of all, some of us went to better universities than others, but let's open this up to everybody.
Had I known, although I do have my purple on.
Okay.
Right.
Big Ten school right
We've
here.
all been at this for a while, right? But what do you think, if you can think all the way back, what do you think your college prep program, wherever you went, even though it wasn't Lock Haven?
It's okay.
But it was Kansas State University, so.
Yeah, okay.
Sadness.
Anyway, what do you think they did well? What do you think that our colleges did well in terms of preparing us? What do you think?
I mean, if you were in Pennsylvania for that.
I mean, I did start at Kutztown.
All right.
Didn't end there.
Did not, no. But my master's is from Scranton, so.
There. Oh, you're getting closer. That's better.
That's fine.
No, I think for myself, the Lock Haven program, again, back when, we had just the dinosaurs had just finished roaming the earth, and we were training horses and stuff. So,
Solid.
Yeah. No, it was a really good program. And not just because that's where I went, but we started right out of the gate with getting into classrooms and doing observations and doing all those things and writing lesson plans. And they hammered all that into us and following the state standards. You had to have your classroom philosophy of, for everything and discipline, classroom management, and working on honing those skills and handling problems. I felt very, very prepared for that. I felt that I could teach any lesson when I got out and was extremely prepared, whether it was health or phys ed. What I wasn't truly prepared for was now is, as looking back on it, I would say it would definitely be differentiating based on the needs of the students within a single class. It was, we're going to teach this lesson, and I had my warm-up, I had my other activities, gameplay, etc., and then you had your closure. But it was, all right, I have a small group of students over here. What can I do with them that's still going to fit their needs? And I guess that mostly falls under that differentiated instruction. How am I going to meet the needs of every single student in that classroom and still meet my objectives?
Right, and I think that's the big thing for some of us. Like, I think I would agree with you as a Lock Haven grad as well. Yeah. I felt really, really prepared to step in and create lessons, and to feel what a classroom felt like, because they did get us in like early on.
Right away.
So I do feel like I was really well prepared to practice the art of teaching.
Yep.
How about you, Tressa? What did they teach you at Kansas State that you felt really good about?
Kansas State University was a fantastic program.
It's purple. How can you trust
purple
that?
and white. Gotta love it. Ema, every man a wildcat. Ema. Anyway, honestly, I thought that our program was fantastic. I mean, we had professors who were bringing in cultural diversity back in the year 2000, when it was, I don't want to say it was the cutting edge of it, because cultural diversity had its place in the 90s. But in 2000, I mean, we had people coming in and bringing us, the food from their culture, and had us dress the way. And I bring that into my classroom. That's what I bring into my classroom.
I've seen some pictures.
Yeah, well, don't worry. It's coming up. But all of those things on top of, the projects that they had us do, being able to crunch numbers and use data and really look at data and how that drives our teaching. All of those things, I 100% learned at K-State.
Good.
So when I was there, I mean, really, they taught me how to be a teacher. It wasn't until I got to Baltimore that I learned how to be an actual teacher.
Well, that's a perfect thing. Like, we all are ready, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
But when was the oh crap moment? I might not be as ready as I feel.
My first one?
Yeah.
My first one was my first day in Baltimore City. Baltimore City. I mean, I was the only white girl in the building.
Right.
And I had first graders. Kid came into school, loaded gun.
Wow.
Kid says to me, teacher, he's got a gun in his bag. I was like, okay, he's 5'6", right? Like, okay, he's got a gun. I'm like, all right, here's the deal. How about you hand it to me, and I'll just hold on to it for the day. I'll keep it in my drawer so it's safe. Yeah. If you're worried about it getting stolen, it won't. It'll be in my desk drawer. And it'll be okay. I'm thinking it's like, a cap gun, a BB gun, something, maybe an airsoft rifle of some kind or something, whatever.
Real loaded gun, huh?
Boy pulls out a loaded pistol. I said, oh, shit. What do I do with this? So and we didn't have phones in the classroom.
Right.
We just didn't. It was 2002, So I stepped one foot in the hallway and start yelling to my assistant principal, whose office was around the corner, I need help. She came down, and don't you know, that woman says, get over here. What are you doing with that gun in this school? She takes the gun from me, takes it with him, goes down to the office. I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
I got a lot to learn.
Some of us didn't get that experience.
I had a lot to learn.
Jake, what about you? Like, when was the first, like, oh, I might not be as ready as I think I need to be moment?
Man, that's tough because of the nature of like what I teach, and on the phys ed side, I don't think really there was anything within the curriculum that I was, it was when a student would flip out. I've had a few of those moments where I'm like, okay, when you see a hockey stick go across the gymnasium, airborne, not across the floor. Because we got scored on.
Of course. Right.
Or a fight breaks out in the locker room, and you're it. And then my end of the building is not close to the office, and it's me. So having to handle those things. It was a learning curve, and I'm not going to talk about what I did, but
because we learn as we grow.
Yeah.
Right. Right. The good news is it was what I had been trained to do. And we have been trained to de-escalate these situations and then how to get in between them and handle students. But it's, I think those were probably the big things where I was like, okay, I need to do this. And, the other side of it is when you have a student screaming in your face and calling you everything under the sun, nothing's going to prepare you for that. Your professors can't do that to you. Right.
Well,
I think another thing
you can't replicate that in a fake environment like that.
No, you can't.
Even though you do student teach and step out into the world, you always have a guide on the side, and you're like, you're like in the sidecar on a motorcycle. Like you're riding the ride, but are you really driving?
Right.
Like, so there's a little bit of that going on, and then when it's just you, and you look around to your left and your right, and you're like, it's me, right? Like, handgun, just me yelling down the hallway.
I'm the adult.
Kids in my face screaming. Like I can't go. Hey, can you get him out of here? Or what do I do? Like you don't. That's the moment.
Well, another thing that happened to me was my first year. I taught at Manhattan Catholic Schools out in Manhattan, Kansas, and I taught a little bit of everything because I was like the filler teacher. I was first year. I was just out. I did you name it, I taught it. Right. And I was a gym teacher at one point. I taught gym. And it was great.
I knew there's a reason why you two liked each other.
Right. I did have to get a girl out of a locker. She stuck herself in the locker. That was another story. I figured it out. Anyway, I'm in the middle of gym class. This boy comes up to me. Now, this boy, at the time, I probably weighed 100 pounds, and I was, the same height. 5'5", 5'6", 100 pounds. This boy was 6 foot and probably 215. Yeah. He comes up to me. He's like, I don't feel great. He grabs my arm and pulls me down. He has a seizure. And I am stuck underneath him.
Sure you are.
My first year teaching, I'm thinking, what do I do? Now, in that instance, I was so thankful because I was the sole gym teacher. Yeah. it was a small Catholic school. Those kids had gone to school with him from the time they were kindergartners to then they were 8th graders. They knew exactly what to do. I took their lead.
Yeah.
And that set me up for, when I was out at SRU, one time we had a little girl drop and had a cardiac arrest in the hallway. I knew what to do. I had been through something like that before. So it's those moments that you don't prepare yourself for in college that you're like, okay, this is real life.
Yep. That can survive.
Yeah.
So when did you guys, and this is always the first, for me, the real first, was the first angry parent phone call. Like, why did Johnny get a 70 on his world history exam?
Yep.
And I was not as prepared to deal with an adult who was really pushing you, and you had to sit down and go, I'm sorry. I don't even know why you're calling me. Maybe Johnny should talk to me first, but when did the parent dynamic start coming into your lives as an educator, and how'd you handle that? Because that's something you don't get a lot of in your prep programs.
If you're failing the physical education class, you have some other things to worry about in life.
Jake's leaning into the not me,
Right. Nose goes.
But I have a lot of experience. I do actually have a few students. I had a student fail my class. I think it was 3 times, and it was just purely based on not wanting to do anything at all. And those are some conversations of what can we do to help your child get through this and meet all the requirements of the course, because they're not that difficult, but we've obviously got some barriers here, and trying to again meet all those qualifications, meet everything within the curriculum, not make it easy, but make it so that it's something that they feel like they can accomplish and they can get through, and presenting it in a different way. And like I said, it's kind of differentiated. I've had some students that have come in and, they didn't like different games. And I'm like, okay, but I still have to get you through and teach you fitness and get you to exercise in class. So what can we do? So I think that's the biggest thing that I can say for a teacher is, what can I do to help you and your, son or daughter through this? Because this is what I've done and it's not working. So what are you doing at home that you might find successful, or what's some common ground to meet on? I have had some fantastic experiences through coaching with parents that were always educational.
Which way?
In the I'll never do that again. Having a meeting without somebody else there, and making sure that that you don't say anything, and sitting and listening. And, Beth Schultz was great for that. She said, no matter how this goes, don't say anything.
Don't say a word.
Unless, I give you the okay. And you have to sit there and some of those meetings you had to just sit and take it. It was like, that was tough. That was tough because, again, nothing really prepares you for that. But, you trust your administration at that point, and she was fantastic for that. She's like, we've got you, everything's going to be okay, but this could get ugly.
I think this is a topic for a future episode. Is the battle you face when it comes to parents is sometimes they really have a hard time letting their children fail. And I think that's where a lot of our conflict comes from when we have to have difficult conversations with parents. It's them trying to understand the process of they have to advocate for themselves and they have to own their decisions. And a parent myself, it's hard to do every day, but I do think that comes into why sometimes our conversations with parents are really, really hard sometimes.
And it's tough because we're all parents here. You don't want to see your kids struggle. You want to put them in an environment where they're going to be successful. You want to see them be successful later in life, as we all have kids moving into those phases in life or in those phases of life. And but at the same time, I've never lost a game as a coach or a player that I didn't learn something from. And you have to look at it that way. I've done very poorly on tests and paper and everything else, and looked at it and said, all right, it's ownership. Yep. And if you've not trying to throw a plug for Jocko, but the Extreme Ownership book, it really is. You've got to take what your part of it is and own it and move forward. And it's tough for parents. I get that. The other thing that sticks out in my mind is I learned very quickly, you don't argue with them. You don't argue. Because at the end of the day, even if you are right, no one wins an argument. They're not going to win. And if you do have to win it and get your point across, there's going to be a lot of damage done in the process.
I always feel like sometimes the fight to be right creates a bigger fight down the road.
Yeah. So
sometimes you just have to like agree that we're not going to have the same opinion or approach and philosophy about some things. And that's hard as professionals. It's hard. Like teaching is a profession where the criticism comes quick.
Oh yeah.
And fast.
Yep.
You know, people don't walk into the bank and go to the bank manager and just rip them, about their checking account being low. Right. So, that's not the case. Right. But we're definitely very exposed to that. Shifting. Thinking about, we talked about the parent perspective and maybe Tressa, talk about this. You've worked in a lot of places.
Yep.
Okay.
3.
How much of your day, when your first few years, how much of your day was actually teaching versus just managing people?
Honestly, that's a difference between grade level.
Okay.
Because as an elementary teacher, I'm managing kids more than I'm teaching.
Okay.
No matter where I taught.
No matter where you taught.
Yeah.
And you're talking over 20 years.
25 years.
Yeah.
Managing kids in elementary is what you're doing.
And you're at the middle school now.
Middle school, it's less about managing kids and it's more about teaching content.
Right.
And those behaviors that the kids, and it makes sense, right? Because middle school kids are a little more mature. They can sit for 15 minutes and understand something and then grasp a concept or at least practice a concept and then move on. 7, 8-year-olds, they don't have that attention span. So it makes sense that after 8 minutes, you really have to do something else because they don't have the attention span.
Like next thing.
Yeah. And so it's less about managing kids in middle and high school and more about teaching the content and getting the kids to understand, the concepts that you're learning or whatever.
Did that get harder? Did that get harder from, like, you think back to 2002, you're Manhattan or Baltimore, wherever you are, globe traveler, my little
global person,
globe traveler, globe trotter.
That's
did it get harder now than it did back then?
Now is way different. The attention spans of children, the attention spans of adults have changed. You think about us as people, right? Yeah. 20 years ago, what was your form of entertainment? TV. So you'd watch a show on TV, right? That was your veg time. You'd sit there, you'd watch a sitcom for half an hour.
It was probably one-arm deadlifts for Jake, but
probably.
I was just thinking, I'm like, you guys had
TV. What? We did chores.
Television.
If you could get the antenna to be in the right direction.
Black and white.
That's not a joke.
But you're right.
But think about it like a half-hour TV show, you'd watch a half-hour sitcom.
Yeah.
You get 3 commercial breaks. So you have 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. You have a commercial break in between each. You knew that if you wanted to see the next part of the show and you wanted something to eat, you had to hurry up and go to the bathroom and get a snack and get back to the TV because there was no rewind. You couldn't pause it, right? Now, it's 2-minute TikToks. Kids are scrolling through. Adults are scrolling through. They see a TikTok. They're like 15 seconds in, keep going, keep going, keep going. Or pause, I've got to go to the bathroom. Or pause, my mom wants me to do a chore. Like, that attention span has changed so much with technology that it's a totally different ballgame. No,
I agree with you on that one. I do agree that technology is a blessing and a curse. And you'll hear me talk a lot about that. I was a tech guy. Like, if it was new and it could supplement the learning, I wanted it to be a part of it. I want to learn how to use it. And truthfully, you guys have seen my staff updates. I really am leaning out against technology, especially in the younger levels.
I've never. I can think of phys ed in terms of the technology and stuff, and just thinking, I've never been a video game person,
me neither.
But they had the stuff where the pads and all those things where the big screens and there were big grants out there for it, and I'm thinking, I'm looking at it and I'm like.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they're gonna make it now. They've really phased out because a lot of
They
them
have.
been worn out. And
Yep.
is worn out and all that.
One of the best inventions I had as a kid was that little mat you could roll out for like Nintendo or Super
yes.
Nintendo, and you
That
could.
was
The
great.
track and field one.
Yeah.
and, yeah.
But if I was thinking correctly, 40 years ago or 70 years ago when that came out, I was like, that is cutting edge.
Yeah.
Like, and that predicted a lot of the things we do now. Like,
Yeah.
it was incredible. But
Yep.
I was the big piano, just in case anybody wondered.
Oh,
The
yeah.
big piano,
Oh,
that
yeah.
was like cutting edge right there.
I think everybody wanted to go to FAO Shorts just to try that out. back in the day.
100%.
So, the interesting thing is technology always makes us talk about mental health. When did you start realizing in your career, because you both are 20 plus year teachers, when did you start realizing that mental health in students is an issue, and were you prepared for it?
I mean, I saw it pretty much right away as it would come in with students, and if especially at the high school where if you took a student's phone, like, they lost their mind. They didn't like it. It was like you had just ripped their heart out and made them watch it stop beating. Like, that was the worst thing in their whole life.
Right.
And it's like, no, you got to put this down to be able to go do this.
Right.
And they still very much struggle with being away from it. Like, no, go put it in your bag, go set it here, go do this, and they want to gravitate to it.
Do you remember? I was kind of shocked. I think, oh boy, it'll be 2 school years now. We came out with a disconnect, a reconnect, and we really doubled down on the cell phones are in your pocket or in your lockers during the day. And we put that message out on social media so that everybody was aware. And it wasn't the kids.
Right.
It was the parents. What if I need to call my... Well, we still have a phone.
Yeah.
We still have a phone number. But it was almost like... I was like, this is such an over-the-top response to something we're doing to promote better learning environment.
Right.
It's excuses for their own behavior.
Well,
and that's so we get trapped into being able to have things directly at our fingertips where we typically don't have to plan too far ahead.
Yeah.
Because
and it's affected mental health, right?
And it completely has. This has changed, that's changed, and they can, but I can just send a message and fix it and do all that. And if it can't be fixed, then we have breakdowns.
Or on the reverse of that, which is a lot of the things that you guys do with the trauma with being in the middle school, is you have children who have access to, they can just get their first thought out. We always feel before we think. And sometimes the feeling part sends things that we don't
Want to say
100%.
want to send, but we send it anyway,
Yep.
which creates
huge drama.
drama and trauma. Because remember, there's the person receiving that is the person that's going to feel the trauma.
Right. Yeah.
The drama is what collectively happens through all of it.
Right.
Right. I always said, like, the biggest part of bullying, the biggest problem with bullying and the mental health is when we didn't have access to every thought that was ever shared with us, because of a device like a phone, we would go home, get off the bus, and we were forced to disconnect.
Right.
And now that
Or
is a
talk to
constant
somebody's
pressure.
parents.
Yeah, but it's a constant pressure now
Yeah.
because we're sitting in front of that device. We're sitting in front of a computer screen, and those things do not ever have time to breathe.
Right.
And you're not giving a young brain time to step back, develop some coping skills, rationalize, build their self-confidence, build through some of those things. But here's the problem. That now becomes our problem.
Right.
Right, and the mental health side is really hard because you nailed it. They don't have the skills, they don't have the coping skills, because you actually have to teach the brain how to do those things, how to step back and how to say, you know what, it would probably be better if I just called the person, because what I am going to say may not be how they receive it.
Correct.
100%.
And I'm not trying to be mean, but it's going to sound that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I don't call them and say, hey, listen, I feel this way, but it's not a bad thing.
Right.
And that creates a lot of undue emotions on both sides and issues that we have.
I think for me, I had an experience, and the first time that I really realized that our mental health is really important. I was teaching at SRU, and I had a group of students who wanted to read the book 13 Reasons Why.
Oh, yeah.
And the librarian would not allow them to read it. So they came to me and asked, what could we do a book club? And I said, well, let's get, parents' permission, and sure, I'll monitor this book club, whatever. So we did. The parents of the kids that wanted to read it, we got permission. We read it together. The parents read the book before we read it as a group. We read it as a group. We talked through it. It was great conversations, great dialogue. It opened up dialogue between the parents and the kids, and me and the kids, and the kids and the kids. And then the very next year, they had a suicide in their class. And
Unreal.
those kids came to me. This is where I realized it. They came to me outside of school. After the day that it happened, they came to my house.
Right. And
they said, thank you so much for doing that with us, because we know how to cope. We understand how to support each other. We can get through this because of that. And that was, at that moment, I was like, oh, wow. So that's why we do some of these things that we do.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
it's hard conversations. It's tough stuff to do,
It
but
is.
it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Well, and that's, I mean, it's,
But was that taught to you at Kansas State?
So, no, we didn't learn that in college.
No.
That was something that I learned, and I honestly attribute that to my family.
Right.
My family taught me that. My family taught me how to do those things, and
Right.
how to show people how to cope and how to be there for each other. I didn't learn that in college.
Think about what we're putting new teachers into, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about an incident that happened a decade ago,
Yep.
right? But now, like, whatever mental health issues were a decade ago, they're exponentially worse now. And I'm not entirely sure we're preparing teachers to deal with that.
At all.
right.
Honestly, it's not that. That's not even a class. Like, that's not even a class that you could say, oh, I'll teach a class on trauma-informed teaching, or whatever. You can't. Some of these situations, you just can't. That's why mentorship is so important. I really, truly feel.
Yeah. It's huge. It
So-
really is.
We got to wind this one down. But if you could, two things, and you can answer either one of those. If you are a 22-year-old teacher, first year, okay, and they just got out of a college prep program, whatever university, college, whatever they went to, what's a piece of advice to help them build their professional knowledge to prepare for the unknown, the things that they don't teach you? Or if you had a chance to tell a college, hey, focus on this we missed in our prep to becoming an educator, to performing the art of teaching, because I truly feel it's an art. It's in our head and our heart. That's art. What are you gonna? What's your advice? You can shoot. Don't tell me what to do. Tell them.
I would tell a college prep program to focus more on the relationships and dealing with student behaviors, student and parent behaviors, and really teaching them how to deal with that. The advice that I would give a college graduate who is just stepping into the field is use your resources. Talk to those people on your staff. Ask them questions. Find out experiences that they've had. What did they do? Don't be afraid to ask. Because if you don't ask them their questions, they're not going to be able to ever divulge that wisdom.
That's great advice. You got to be the voice.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think, Jake?
How much more time we have?
I'm going to put you on a 10-second
You're not that
clock.
long-winded. Come on.
And
Go.
so I think it's, for me, going to the universities and saying you need to revisit your entire program and do it seriously and do it very with that fine-tooth comb and get rid of things that, let's be honest, AI can teach a kid. I don't recommend it ever. There's no human element to it, but we are at a time where if they can look it up and they can listen to it, they can find the information that they want. And we need that human connection. You mentioned the trauma informed and all those things that go along with that. I mean, I know how to handle that through the fire service and how to handle those situations and remain calm and all that. But had I not gone into that, I would have had no idea how to handle those things with students.
Yep.
Not being afraid of things that we get pushed into with like social media and like all these things out there. People are afraid to talk about suicide. They're afraid to talk about mental health. They're afraid to talk about, we all go through things, and we all have things that have happened to us. And I think we don't always present that we're going to talk about it with everybody because, like that person is kind of annoying, but, in a group, but at the same time, there is a time and a place,
sure.
Where those things can come up and people talk through things, and that's okay, and I bring that up with my students when we do the CPR and first aid unit. But the universities need to be preparing the teachers better at the elementary level. You want the kids to do chair yoga. You want them to have these little breaks where they're getting up, they're moving. Are you teaching it? Are you teaching these teachers how to come into that classroom and do that?
Right.
Are you teaching them how to handle mental health? How many mental health classes do universities have for social studies teachers?
I went to a lot of, there wasn't mental health in the 90s, buddy.
Right. We didn't have to worry about it.
We
won't
talk
talk
about
about
that.
how we coped with it.
Yep, you closed the door.
But those are things that they've identified, especially post-COVID.
Yeah. Oh,
that it is a massive part of our education now.
Yep.
And we need to learn how to handle that, and we need to get people active again. And there's a ton of studies out there that I've recently been doing. And one of the things that new teachers and one of the studies had said is, I'll do it, but I have no training on it.
Right.
So create the courses, train them. You want us to do this at the top level, at the departments of education and everything,
and that's great advice.
us.
That's great advice. And I'll wrap this up. I watching a lot of young teachers and watching you guys go through this, and even myself, if there's one thing, and I know this is kind of maybe a little off topic, but it is, like, I think the teachers do not, because of the fact that they have to deal with so much more mental health and there's so much more stress and anxiety, we do not spend enough time on how we as professionals take care of ourselves. Understanding that there's how to time manage, how to organize, so that you can take time for your own self. Because the brain is a muscle. It needs time to reset, to grow. It needs downtime. And I think a lot of us now in the profession get wore out, burned out, and dried out from this job because they don't have the skills to know time management and when to shut things down and to give themselves the time to reset. Right? So if I could give any college advice, is help prepare these people for the longevity of the job. Right? The longevity of the job.
Yep.
Yeah.
That came with experience for sure for me.
Yeah, because we had to go through it, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, you have to experience that. And
That's why I said talk to the people that you work with.
teaching
You
the
gotta have a good
teachers
friend
that
group.
teaching the
Do.
teachers that it's okay to have those breaks and things in front of your students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Teaching the kids how to have a break. You
Yes.
have to teach them how to do those
You
things.
do, unfortunately.
And while we all appreciate the preparation programs we were part of,
Absolutely.
we want them to evolve and grow and meet the needs of the new learner and the new teacher.
Yep.
So with that being said, there you go, folks. The differences between when we were actually going through college and to what colleges might need now. And we kind of took a long journey around it, but Lessons Unplanned, the reality of teaching, and that's what it is. So we'll see you all next time. And with that, take care.
Thank you.